task in financing the 3.68 trillion shilling budget. Nearly 70% of the budget is said to be financed through tax revenues. As Jimmy Mbogona explains, this will be a walk, will not rather be a walk in the park, with the government pegging its hope on economic recovery and the ability of the Kenya Revenue Authority in tax collection.
The 3.68 trillion 2023-2024 budget will not be an easy one to finance given the economic challenges facing the country. According to the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury, Professor Njuguna Ndung'u, economic growth and revenue-raising measures are pegged on economic recovery but are not a surety.
Our analysis showed that growth in next year will be negative. Then we cannot be sure about the revenue that we are now sure about the growth trajectory. And if we continue with that growth trajectory, we are talking about economic vibrancy. And so it means that we are going to generate the resources that we actually need, the tax resources that we actually need. So tell your friend who says that it is ambitious, we started with the growth. If next year the growth is not 5.8%, it's 10%, we will also change our targets.
Ambitious or not, the National Treasury has set a target of 2.7 trillion shillings, with KRA expected to collect over 2.57 trillion shillings in taxes. The remaining tranche of revenue creates a 718 billion shillings deficit, which Treasury plans to fill by borrowing 131.5 billion shillings from the international market and a 586.5 billion shillings from the domestic market.
Mr. Speaker, our medium-term fiscal consolidation policy targets to progressively reduce the level of fiscal deficit from the expected 5.8% of GDP in financial year 2022-2023 to 3.6% of GDP in the financial year 2026 to 2027.
And although a significant chunk of the country's revenue is directed towards recurrent expenditure, the CS insists that more borrowing will not put the country at risk of default.
Although the debt burden has risen, Kenya has not accumulated debt service arrears, and the government is committed to honor all public debt obligations as they fall due. Over the medium term, revenue-driven fiscal consolidation policy stance is expected to improve further the country's debt sustainability ratios and debt carrying capacity.
As the National Treasury pushes on with measures to increase taxes, the question that is yet to be answered is what happens when revenues fall short. Will the budget still be sustainable, or will it mean more pressure on the Kenyan citizen? Jimmy Mbogo, KTN News.
And now, with today's action in Parliament, there was a reaction. Actually, there was drama in Parliament today afternoon.